What's up, EKN Nation? Rob Howden here for a new edition of our EKN Face2Face. It's December the 21st, almost into 2023, episode 62 of our essentially one-on-one or two-on-one interview series that we do here on YouTube and on Facebook as well. David Cole beside me here. I always have to remember which way to point. David joining me here, obviously prepping for the snowstorm that's coming through from the west. David, you got the new EKN Toucan. You look good, bud.
Yeah, we got to represent, we got still buy one, get one, 40% off. That's through our Styled Aesthetic website. Again, work with them, including toques, beanies, jackets. We got the zipped up jacket with the EKN logo on it. We got all the new shirt designs that we just debuted at Las Vegas. So I figured, I got to rep the brand.
That's a solid sales pitch right there.
Yeah. And again, we are going to get snow. They're starting to cancel things for tomorrow. They're expecting it to hit hard tomorrow. So we'll see if they're right or wrong. You never know with Michigan forecasts. It's 50-50 either way.
Well, a couple of years ago, that might have been a bad thing for you, David, but your Christmas present last year hooked you up.
Yeah, the snowblower has already been in work since I got back from the Super Nationals. Last week was a pretty good amount of snow. I would say probably about 16 inches that we got. So worked on the driver's sidewalk, their neighbor's sidewalk. I just kept going because that thing just runs forever. It's like a Briggs 206.
I looked like a good boss buying the snowblower, but the reason I did it because I didn't want to hear him bitching and complaining about how his back was sore every time I had to come in after going out and shoveling snow 3 or 4 times a day.
I will say my back feels really good right now.
Well, you're getting older, Dave. You are getting olher.
My feet are, on the other hand, are a different story.
Speaking of getting a bit older,
No.
The Margay Ignite program. This is what we're talking about here right now.
Okay.
We talk a lot on these shows about in podcasts, whatever we do, and even in the articles as well, about how the introduction of the Briggs 206 program really kind of rebuilt and solidified the foundation of the sport. That bottom of that pyramid we always talk about. One of the other programs that really has done the same thing in different areas of the country is the Margay Ignite program. And of course, Margay, one of the legendary names in American karting, a longtime manufacturer, third generation Keith Freber, now running the program over almost, I think we're probably closing in on somewhere around 1,500 Ignite carts that have been built and that are racing around the country. David, you and I both had an opportunity to run the carts in many different races, whether it be the Rock Island Grand Prix, Battle at the Brickyard, whatever event it was. But man, you and I both enjoyed the program. This is a program, a spec program, American-made chassis, Briggs engine, Hoosier tires. This is a program that really has, when it first came out, dropped down that barrier of entry. A lot cheaper to get into. And with just a spec program, it allowed people to realize that they were racing against the same equipment, not having to battle against equipment, but battling against their fellow competitors.
Yeah, it's getting people off the couch and getting them racing. That's the goal and the mindset of the Ignite program. And as you said, it focuses mostly around the driver, whether it be, cadet, junior, or senior, or even masters. Again, the focus, not having to worry about the engine. Everybody has the same engine, not having to worry about the chassis. Everybody is on the same chassis, same tire, same engine mount with Odenthal motor mounts, same bodywork, everything, same seats, I believe even is the same. So it focuses on driver development. And so you can go right off the couch, as we've seen. Now the Ignite program continues to grow and grow. We've seen drivers get off the couch, get into karting, develop, and build themselves up into now motorsports racers.
Yeah, that's a cool thing, right? So you've got this Ignite program, a spec program running at different clubs around the country. Then they have their Ignite Challenge Series, which is the regional program. We talk about the national level, right? And the pyramid, club, regional, and then they have really their national level races with their Ignite major events, all the majors, right? One of the majors is coming up in just a week's time, not even a week's time, right? Just actually about a week's time, 28th.
They'll be on track in a week from now.
That is, of course, the Dash at Daytona, and that is part of the WK Daytona Kart Week. Let's bring Keith Freber in right now. He knows way more than we do, obviously. Keith, again, one of my first friends in the sport when I came down south here to work with, where I was before, the National Kart News. Met back at the old, what was it called again? Was it Kart Fest? WK Kart Fest.
Kart Fest, yeah, down in Charlotte.
At the Adams Mark Hotel.
The Adams Mark Hotel, and guaranteed to have an ice storm every year.
Speaking of storms.
Get ready.
Yeah, right.
Exactly that.
Cole's ready for it. Yeah.
So let me set it for those of you tuning in here on Face to Face. Thank you for joining us first and foremost, or listening to potentially the podcast that we'll put together afterwards. We're going to talk about Daytona. Keith is going to have a look back at 2022 and how good the program was this year. So maybe some changes or updates for 2023. And then we'll talk, as David mentioned really briefly there, about some of the drivers who have gone from actually the Ignite program into some car racing now. But, I know, Keith, let's talk about it. I said we're about a week away. You guys are heading back down to Daytona again. Let's talk about what the Margay presence is going to be like down at Daytona.
Well, yeah, Daytona is one of our marquee events of the year, obviously, and it's something that I've looked for. I mean, everybody loves Daytona, right? Especially this time of year. And so I really look forward to the event. This will be my 41st year competing at the event in a row, 41 years in a row. So as Rob talks about things getting older, I thought that was a direct shot.
That's what I thought.
No, it was not. It was 100% not at that. But that's amazing, dude. 41 years. That's an absolute.
Yeah, well, and it shows in the photo that you used too. I'm going to have to talk to my PR team here, because that photo that you used, man, it looks like I just rolled out of bed or something after a 3-day.
It looked like you were focused.
Focused. Okay, that's the word we'll use. But no, Daytona is again a marquee event. It's a destination event, and it's an event that people from every corner of the sport can go and participate in. If you're a dirt racer, they've got the dirt oval at the Daytona flat track running. If you're a sprint racer, WKA's got the sprint race going inside turns 3 and 4 there on the sprint track. And if you're a road racer, you get to go. It's the big show, man. You get to go run on the big track. And, as I told my friends when I was 13 or 14 years old, like, hey, do you see those cars on TV? Yeah, I'm racing there, And there's still, I think, that appeals to a bunch of people, to a wide range of people. And so it's kart week. And it is truly an opportunity for all karters to go and participate at an amazing facility. Since they spent $1 billion on the facility a couple of years ago, it's just a first-class facility. So I enjoy the heck out of it. I enjoy taking customers there for the first time. That's super cool. We had some juniors running the Ignite class on the big track a couple of years ago. Not a big group. There were like 4 or 5 of them, right? But they went out there and they just ran nose to tail the whole time, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, the whole race on the big track,
That's amazing.
And they were so wound up after that race. I mean, it was like the highlights of their lives.
Can you imagine them watching the Rolex 24?
Yeah.
Less than a month later going, yeah, that's the way I took that corner. Right?
That's exactly right. And so,
cool.
it's something that I think karting as a whole should embrace as much as possible, because it's not often that we get to run tracks like Daytona. I mean, this should be the biggest event of the year in karting, really. And actually it is the biggest event in terms of raw entries. I mean, we're going to have, I'm guessing 350 at the sprint track, 600 entries on the road course event. And they're talking about pushing almost 2,000 entries over on the dirt oval.
Wow.
So
I know, for sure. I think they already have 1,000 pre-entries already. So that's
which
good.
is awesome. And so you're talking about 3,000 entries at this event, and everybody in the sport's there. We used to get a ton of participation from the West Coast. You don't see that quite as much anymore, and I'd like to see that again. But I have to credit Mike Tetro and WKA and Kevin Williams. It's not an easy event to organize by any stretch, and they do a really good job at putting it together and putting all the right pieces in the right places. And so thanks to them for making this happen so that we can go race there and sort of celebrate karting at this unique venue.
Yeah, and you're right, as you said, you've been there for 41 years. What was the first year? Come on, Keith, would you have that? What was the first year for Daytona?
The first year was, I believe, like 74 or 75, if I'm not mistaken.
The first ever, yes, correct.
The first
74.
ever. Yeah,
yes.
74.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go with that. My first year, I believe, as a spectator was as like an 8-year-old going down there with my dad, and a bunch of road race cars. There was no sprint carts at that time. I mean, it was a pure road race event, and some things never change, right? Like we were thrashing the carts together like Christmas afternoon at that point. I mean, my dad had people in the shop finishing things up, throw it in the truck, drive down there, and all last minute. But we've gotten a little better about it. And as a matter of fact, as we're talking here, the boys just walked in the door from taking the trucks down there. So the trucks are already there. The tent's set up. The trucks are set up. Everybody gets home, gets to spend Christmas at home, and then we turn around.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a great
down.
idea. Nice.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So for people that don't know, one of the interesting things about it is the Ignite program is going to be on both the sprint track and the road course. And you guys have a couple of programs together that you can, you run one day at one day at the other. Give us a little scoop. It's senior, masters, and junior, but which days do they run and what venues?
It's very confusing, even for me. So at the sprint track, we have Ignite Senior and Ignite Masters. And those run on both race days there, and it's just this typical format on the sprint track. Same thing over at the road course, except we do have Ignite Juniors there too, along with Ignite Senior and Ignite Masters. And the way the schedule works out this year, it's sort of difficult to do both. I mean, the way you would have to do it is run sprint track on day one and the road course on day two, or vice versa. You could do that. I'm not sure. We do have a couple of people that, or I was going to say crazy enough, but I'll just say enthusiastic enough.
Adventurous enough, yes.
Yeah, to try that. Yeah, so we've got a couple of guys that are going to try to run both on the same day. We'll see how that goes. But, what a great opportunity to run a proper sprint race, and then the next day run a proper road race with the same cart. Against people that are all on the same equipment, and the focus is squarely on the driver. So it's good stuff.
Now, the cool thing is, go, David, you go.
I was just going to say, speaking of drivers, there's some pretty notable drivers that are going to be on the sprint track side of things. Well, let's start off with a former winner who is the all-time Ignite Major winner, Evan Stammer, coming back to race there. I mean, he loves that place. I've seen him race there multiple times, and he's got a couple of wins there. But also the Taylor brothers. I think that's going to bring a lot of attention to the Ignite category trackside with everybody watching, both Ricky and Jordan on track there.
Yeah, I mean, you highlight two really great names, three great drivers. Evan, ironically enough, was down at Daytona just 2 weekends ago, and he won a race down there in a Porsche GT3 Cup car. So instead of running 75 miles an hour through the tri-oval, he was running 179 miles an hour through the tri-oval. Is that what it was? 179 in the GT3 Cup car. Pretty cool stuff.
That's fast.
It's a little quicker than I'd like to go in a cart. So
because the laydowns maybe 110, 115 there.
Like a Yamaha pipe laydown is going to run 115 to 120, something like that. The dual engine laydowns that you're familiar with, right at 149. The last time we were down there with the folks, it's like it was 149. Could not get that thing over 150, but so it's still very quick. So yeah, Evan was down there getting tuned up. He was getting tuned up for the Ignite race in a GT3 Cup car. And then the Taylor brothers, I got to credit Zach Buchanan here for putting that deal together. Zach pursued that whole program and got Ricky and Jordan signed up. And they're going to be, I mean, these guys, maybe their name isn't synonymous with Earnhardt in Daytona, but it's right there. I mean, it's a step behind, barely, Yeah. These are the guys when it comes to getting the job done at Daytona and IMSA endurance racing. Mm-hmm. And they're avid go-karters too. I think a lot of people have seen their YouTube videos, which I kind of cringe at when I see that. I'm like, okay, this is how you don't do it, kids. Don't do this. But man, it looks like a lot of fun. And so they're both going to be competing, and we're really excited to have them. And I mean, I look for them to be very competitive.
We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Is IndyCar your dream? If it is, for 2023 and beyond, the path from karting to IndyCar has gotten even clearer. It's time to look into the new USF Juniors program and the brand new Tatis JR23. As the first step of the newly rebranded USF Pro Championships presented by Cooper Tires, the USF Junior Series will feature a 6-event, 16-race schedule to train racers for the move into the USF 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. The USF Juniors champion will win a scholarship worth over $248,000, and the total prize fund will exceed $330,000. The series will also debut the new Tatis JR23 race car in 2023, which is a development version of the USF 22 used in USF 2000. It's the ideal entry point for career-minded karters moving on to the car racing ladder. Safety is always front and center in the mind of the series promoters, and the USF Juniors car features a halo, and the races are supported by members of the AMR IndyCar safety team. If IndyCar is your goal, USF Juniors is the starting line. For more information, visit www.usfjuniors.com and follow USF Juniors on social media. For over 20 years, Greg Bell has been building race-winning power for kart racers. One need only look at his team, Leading Edge Motorsports. He's always built engines for his team, and the results have been wins at the biggest races in America, the SCUSA Super Nationals and the Rock Vegas events. The name on this program? Mega Power. This year alone, Bell and Danny Formel teamed up to sweep the Rock Shifter class on the Florida Winter Tour, all on a Mega Power engine. If you want to win shifter kart races, it's time to put Mega Power on your kart. Mega Power specializes in gearbox engines, such as the TMKZ, Rock Shifter, and IME Shifter, but with almost 3 decades of engine building experience, Bell develops winning motors for X30 and Mini Swift and everything in between. The combination of Greg Bell's engine building skills and his chassis tuning knowledge is a potent mixture. Greg's helped catapult many drivers to wins over the years, including Mercedes F1 star George Russell, who won the Supernats 14 in 2011 with Leading Edge Motorsports. Increase your odds of winning at this year's Rock Vegas or Super National events or throughout 2023 by calling Greg Bell today at 209-747-2613 to put Mega Power in your corner. Need race fuel or oil? Hyperfuels is an authorized distributor for several of the brands that are spec fluids in American karting, including Elf and Aspen Sport. They also stock and ship methanol. Hyperfuels has a web store that can take your orders 24/7, and they ship UPS. That's right, Hyperfuels can ship fuel and oil right to your door. Whether you need Elf Racing Fuels or Elf ATX 909 oil, or Aspen Sport 98 octane fuel for SCUSA competition, they have it in stock. When you need it now, go to hyperfuels.com. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network. Obviously, think of the guys that have been there before in years past, too. The Gabby Chavez's, Zach Veach. Yeah. You've had guys that have been part of the action before. It's one of those things. It's perfect time of the year for an IndyCar guy, an IMSA guy, whatever, to say, I want to jump back to the roots and have some fun.
We'd really like to build this. It's tough to do. It's tough to get everybody geared up at the same time and at the same place. But if WK has told us that if we can get the guys together, they would actually do a pro-only Ignite event where we had IndyCar, almost like an IROC type of deal, where you've got IndyCar drivers, IMSA drivers, all in a pure class with just them. And so I know Zach continues to work hard on that. It's not going to happen this year, but that is something that we'd love to see in the future.
Well, Jamie Murray will be down there with his son racing, so that would be a great connection for the NASCAR side of things.
Jamie unfortunately can't race because his arm's in a sling because I twisted it so hard. Unsuccessfully, I might add.
Until it broke, obviously.
Yeah. We were working on Jamie and
it's tough being a karting dad because that's what he is now.
That's it. And so I said, hey man, I really need to know, can you do this or not? And he said, no, I can't do it. And I got back to him. I said, that is the right answer. That's exactly the right answer. And, Carter is another young aspiring driver, Jamie's son, that's moving up the ladder and is going to do really, really well. And Jamie's focus rightly is on Carter 100%. So, maybe we'll get Jamie after Carter's already moved on.
There you
go. So we'll look a little bit further down the road.
So we talked Daytona, which is kind of the end of 2022, but the start of 2023. Let's rewind a bit and talk about 2022. I mentioned off the start, we're well over 1,000 Ignites, closing in on 1,500 carts that have come out of the shop that are now running over all these different programs. How was 22 for you guys? I know there was obviously some challenges, but the the majors came off well. Give us a little snapshot of how 2022 went for the Ignite program.
It's a crazy year for everybody, for you guys,
yeah.
for us, for everybody. It was there was a lot of what I would call pent up demand. Last year at Daytona, we had 47 entries in Ignite Senior. And I think a lot of that was just people, ready to go. They'd been sort of homebound or, not racing as much or whatever. And so people were ready to get out and go. But the participation was really strong. I thought across all forms of karting in 2022. I thought karting had a very, very good year. Probably the best year we've had in maybe 15 plus years. And so I think karting had a very good year. We had a lot of challenges here. We had all of the challenges that you hear about with supply chain issues, employee issues. I mean, we dealt with all of those things. And the group that we have here now is really the best group we've ever had. I'm super excited about the group we have here and the way we're tackling things moving forward. I think 2023, we're going to put a lot of the supply chain issues that we had behind us.
Cool.
And the key really at this point to grow the Ignite program and to grow our brand even further is just having product available.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I mean, whatever we build, we can sell. We don't have a sales problem. We have a capacity problem.
Yeah.
So I think some of our dealers were frustrated a bit in 2022 with the lead times on getting complete carts, and rightfully so. They should be.
Keith, I know in talking to Dan Roach at Briggs and Stratton, obviously that's one of the things people have talked about. They can't get engines right now. They literally sold out what would be their normal sales of a year. Engines were gone by July, I think, when Dan and I were talking. Like, just this, it's not that they can't supply the demand. They're having to work.
Yeah.
They have to change things to supply the demand because they had already reached the average number of sales they had mid-season. And of course, you guys, based on that as your engine package, I'm sure that was an issue as well.
It was a bit of an issue, but to be fair, Briggs has worked really well with us. We've never had too many engines, that's for sure, but we've never been totally out.
Yep.
But Briggs has been really, really good to work with us and very supportive of our program.
It makes sense as an OEM, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're not here flushing them out to retail customers or anything like that. It's everything that we get in goes to Ignite carts.
Yeah.
And I think they understand that. So they've been a great partner. But I mean, whether it's seats,
I was just gonna say body work, wheels,
whatever. Yeah. I mean, tires, tire manufacturing, not necessarily in karting. Karting hasn't really borne the brunt of it, but tires are a real issue and Rob, this.
Yeah.
At every level of motorsports, tires are a real problem.
That's the big issue. The biggest issue, one of the biggest issues right now. Yeah.
And so, obviously we partner with Hoosier and they've been terrific. We've not had to deal with any of those issues that they've dealt with at higher levels, but they were in the same boat as Briggs. They sold more tires in 2022 by an early date than they'd ever sold before. And they're like, where are all these things going? I mean, everybody's just kind of like, well, where's all this stuff going? It's crazy. So it's good. But when you're in an industry that has sort of operated between these two bands, right? These two lines for a long time, we're up a little, we're down a little, we're up a little, we're down a little. When all of a sudden it goes up and you're way past the normal peak, the industry has a hard time keeping.
Well, think about it with a Hoosier Briggs. You guys bended steel.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy X amount of steel because every year we sell this many carts. If you have to sell this many carts, you don't have the stock of steel, and you have to. Then you're searching for material.
Yeah, and steel's a whole nother thing, by the way.
Yes, yeah.
So,
I saw you shudder a bit when I said steel there.
But it's all of those things are issues, and we're no different than anybody else. We had to deal with all of those things last year, and I'm proud to say that we're still here, and I think we're better positioned now than we've ever been. Going into a new year. So very optimistic for 2023. And again, I think we're going to sell everything we can build. So everybody's going to work over Christmas. No. Yeah.
Well, of course, you guys are going to be at the racetrack.
We will be working. We'll be working at the racetrack, though.
We'll come back. There's some stuff about 2023 manufacturing-wise that I want to touch on when we wrap things up here. Let's go to 2023 right now in terms of the program itself. Obviously, we know Daytona is getting things underway as really the first unofficial race of 2023. What are we looking at Ignite Challenge-wise? Are there any new tracks potentially coming on board as Ignite tracks clubs?
There's not at this point because we couldn't supply.
All right, yeah.
Couldn't supply in 22. So we're not out there banging down the doors of these tracks, trying to sign up new tracks because we couldn't supply the existing tracks. So I think you will see us be more aggressive in working to sign up some new tracks here in 2023. And there's some other things that I want to do to try to strengthen the program for the club level tracks, the mid-state kart clubs, the TNT kartways, 61 kartways, places like that, that could maybe strengthen their program. So, but no new tracks being added to the challenge either. But we do have a returning track, and that's 61 kartways up in Iowa. It's the Nielsen family track, Tony and Cliff Nielsen and their family. Kind of what karting is all about, super family oriented. It's the Field of Dreams track, right?
Yeah, right.
And they really put their heart and soul into that place. It's a cool layout. The drivers really enjoy it. So we're going to go back there. They're more aggressively promoting the Ignite program because all these people with Ignite carts kept showing up, even though they didn't have a class. We're like, maybe there's something to this, And so they've added the classes up there now, and we'll be back there. Not sure when.
July 15th.
Thank you for that, David.
Got the schedule here. Yeah.
Yeah, you have all the official paperwork. It's awesome.
I was hoping Rob printed it out, but
it's right in front of me here. I was waiting for Keith to come up with it. I'm trying to see if I'm looking at my schedule.
The series begins May 21st at Gateway Kartplex.
Gateway Kartplex, obviously
that's basically your home.
Yeah, the home of Ignite karting, and every time we talk about Gateway, we have to thank Curtis Francois, and we want to thank Curtis Francois for giving us the opportunity to develop this program there. It's been awesome for karting, not only in this area, but I think karting in general, and none of it would have happened without Curtis and his vision and Curtis wanting to grow motorsports in general here in St. Louis. So hats off to Curtis and many thanks to him.
Nice.
And I still, Rob, you still haven't done laps at that track, have you?
Well, I'm just going to say, as I look at my schedule here, that's qualifying weekend at Indy. I don't do anything that weekend.
Well, but even when you went there with the USF,
he's so lame.
Championship.
No, you guys shut the track down this year.
Oh, that's right. You guys
this
shut
year,
the track
but prior years, Mr. Hotshot here.
You kept telling me I was going to drive the Twin. I never did get a chance to drive the Twin. That's what I wanted to drive.
Okay, well, we're going to do that this year.
We won't be there this year. I won't be there this year. There's no USF Pro 2000 there. We're not going to Worldwide Technology Raceway this year.
That's a bummer. We'll miss you.
It's a big bummer. Yeah.
All right.
But like I said,
come over when you're at Indy.
Maybe I need to come over for the first Gateway race.
3.5 hours away.
I can drive that.
And that weekend is really big. We have a huge turnout. We do sort of a doubleheader where we have a local Ignite race on day one. Then we have the Ignite Challenge race on day two. We're lobbying Keith Scharf, the GM there, very hard for his version of what he calls the super track, where we actually go out onto the road course, come back in onto the sprint track, and it's a lot longer track, and there's some drafting involved.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a lot of fun. So
let me see if I can go on here and book my Airbnb at the Freber household and
come on over. Nicole would love to see you.
That sounds like a great idea. I love it. All right, so we talked about that. What else you got going on? Gateway, we talked about that. That's that first weekend. Back at Mid-State, back at TNT, and back at Audubon again, which is great too, right?
Yeah, Audubon has been fantastic. I think the program's worked out really well there. They've invested. I'd like to think. Actually, there's two great stories here. There's Audubon and TNT. Audubon is obviously a first-class circuit before you even get to the kart track. It's a great facility, and they had a karting track 5 years ago, and it wasn't much of a karting track. It was something you could drive karts on.
Yeah.
And so we got together with them, introduced Ignite up there, and things took off. And they invested heavily in building a proper karting track there. Nice buildings, nice facility. They're adding some garages, I believe. And every time we go there, it is first class. There's not a piece of trash anywhere. Everything is spotless. They treat us very well. And it's really nice. And I'd like to think that Ignite was sort of the genesis of that development and that investment. And then you've got a new track there, and then you've got one of the oldest tracks in the country with TNT and Terry Trader. And our relationship with the Trader family literally goes back 60 years. And so Terry's always been, a very close family friend. He's done a lot for us, but he's also done a lot for karting over the years. And the track, though, had been sort of stagnant for many years. Not a lot had gone on with the track, but we introduced Ignite up there again. Entries picked up. Terry got enthused, and he went. And this, people will tell you this is rare for Terry, but he spent some money. and I give Terry a hard time about that, but he reinvested in the track, repaved a large portion of the track, and every time we go there as well, they do an amazing job of presenting the facility. I mean, to them, it's like the Indy 500 is coming to town. It's that level of preparation on that facility. There's no trash anywhere. The place is super clean. It's like a major event. And we bring our Ignite Challenge series there, and we have a great time. The competitors, everybody loves going to Quincy. Rob and I could do a whole nother show on Quincy.
We could.
And the bars of Quincy. But so you've got a new track and an old track that I feel like investment has taken place because of Ignite.
Yeah.
Or at least
stability
somewhat.
of it. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Yep. And Terry will tell you flat out that Ignite is what led him to sort of bring that track back. So that's great.
We're going to roll into obviously into the majors right now. Before we do that, good segue into talking about Terry, talking about TNT, talking about Quincy. Obviously horrible. Well, I shouldn't say horrible because I don't want to make it sound that, but disappointing news. I understand Terry obviously decided to not run the Quincy Grand Prix next year. It's a race I kept wanting to get back to, but my schedule was never allowing me to do it. Sooner or later, you had to figure out what's going to keep going. But what are your thoughts on this past year being the last Quincy Grand Prix, at least in this iteration?
Well, certainly sad. I mean, there's so many people that have had so many good times at that event and in that town. And to see the effort that Terry put into that event, again, when we roll into the park up there, the way he's not only Terry, but the city parks department, how often do you get the city parks department working to make the karting event top notch? And Quincy really got behind it. The parks department was very behind it. It was beautiful, just absolutely beautiful setting. They repaved the entire park basically so they could get the kart race back there. And we had some great times up there over the last 5 years and the last several iterations of the race here. But, Terry worked really hard at it. And I think he was hoping for a little bit better participation level. And, things have changed a bit. There's not as much following for street racing as there used to be. I mean, that was a whole different circuit 20 years ago. I mean, you could have run a street race in the Midwest almost every weekend, and now it's a bit of a rarity. And so there's not that base there. And people, I think, anymore are so into their series. They're focused on their series. They got to be the points champion in this series. And if it's not part of that series or something similar, it's not on their radar.
Yeah.
And so it was a real challenge to get any 2-cycle racers there. And there's just not a lot of 2-cycle racers left in the Midwest, to be honest. And
conflicts as well, 2-cycle conflicts, whether it was a Stars Championship or the SCUSA Pro Tour, they were always on top of it or a weekend around it.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Hey, let's say that could have brought 10, 15 guys, maybe.
Right.
I'm not going to say that everybody was all of a sudden going to grab that weekend and come.
I mean, the SCUSA event this past year was in Utah, and there was probably 5 or 6 guys that didn't make the trip to Quincy. But what a spectacular... I mean, ask anybody that's raced there. They will tell you that is the coolest, most fun karting track they've ever driven on, without a doubt. And so it's really disappointing that it may go away, but there's some talk about some other people getting involved and, some new enthusiasm there to take a shot at it. So I wouldn't draw a line through it entirely.
Okay, I like that.
But there's some hurdles to overcome, and hopefully that'll happen. And if we can be a part of it, we'd love to help, because that is a cool event.
We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network.
You want the best, you just gotta roll with the best. Streeter Superstands. This is Jeff Wessel from StreeterSuperstands.com. You wouldn't put subpar parts on your racing cart, so why put that cherished ride of yours on anything but karting's #1 lifts and stands, Streeter Superstands. Streeter is the original and genuine manufacturer of the second-to-none Bigfoot rolling stands, stackers, uprights, and industry-leading Superlift. We also manufacture and sell the largest and always growing roster of trailer and shop accessories like tire, engine and jug racks, cabinets, spray can trays, bead breakers, and tons more to outfit any size trailer, team, and budget. Streeter Superstands has over 30 continuous years of experience. We're kart racers just like you and know that the Streeter name represents the absolute best in stands, lifts, and accessories for karting enthusiasts worldwide. Durability, affordability, unmatched quality, and customer service, that's what sets us apart from the rest. Check us out now at StreeterSuperstands.com. Roll with the best, StreeterSuperstands.com.
History, success, family. Those are the three words that can describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation located just outside of Indianapolis has provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers in the near 6 decades of business. Their online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. From full karting packages, new engines, spare or replacement parts, and safety gear, find it all at CometKartSales.com. Their Comet Racing Engine service has won multiple major events and championships over decades of karting and continues to offer the best trackside service in the industry, specializing in IAME X30, IAME Swift, and other 2-cycle power plants. Make sure to head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be part of the Comet Kart Sales family today. Acceleration Kart Racing is your first and only stop on the internet for karts, parts, and the safety gear you need to get you on the track. Visit shopakr.com for a great selection of karting equipment on a user-friendly website. Acceleration Kart Racing has aligned itself with many of the top manufacturers and distributors in the sport to ensure all the latest equipment is available to you, the racer. With over 20 years in business and customer support available 6 days a week, you can be confident about getting the right parts at the right price when you need them. Be sure to visit shopakr.com today or stop by their headquarters in Las Vegas. Make sure to follow Acceleration Kart Racing on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest specials and new arrivals. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network. So what does the Ignite Majors look like for 2023 with no Quincy?
So 3 races, which is good. I think we had too many last year. So 3 majors, Daytona, of course, Elkhart, Indiana, Elkhart Grand Prix, and then we go back to Rock Island. And I think, I think all of those events are going to be outstanding. Elkhart is the sleeper, and it's a very cool city festival. So there's like a huge concert there, beautiful setting where we're racing around a river and actually over the river.
Yeah.
Really a super cool setting. And the city, the karting event is just a part of a larger event. So tons and tons of locals come out, and we get a lot of participation in the Ignite program from local people that saw the race the year before and they want to come out and race now. Which makes it a little interesting at times because they don't have a lot of experience. But we try to get them up to speed. And so USAC will be back promoting that event this year. And I think it's going to be really good. And we're going to work really hard to grow our end of that event as much as we can, because it's a lot of fun. It's a Friday night and Saturday event, which is a little bit different. But you finish up on Saturday, and there's a huge party there Saturday night. So it works out pretty well. And then, of course, Rock Island. Rock Island had some challenges last year. There was a lot of construction going on around the track. And it's really nice to see. Nice to see the much needed investment in that area. But the track was a little rough. It was just a rough event, and they've committed to running the event again early this year, which is great. So we can get an early start promoting it.
Yeah.
I think all of the construction is going to be done. I think there's going to be some repaving done. So we're going back there with renewed enthusiasm, and can't wait to do that. So just 3 majors at this point. There's a possibility of a 4th, and I'll just throw it out there. I don't mind stirring it up a little bit, but everybody loves Indy, and we really want to get back to Indy.
Yeah.
We never quit working on that whole angle. It seems like maybe there's a better possibility than last year anyway, to get back and to run at Indy again this summer. So we're working on that really hard. We're wearing people out on that all the time and trying not to get them too worn out. But we'd love to see that back. And that would be another event that's just great for karting, right?
Huge for karting. Yeah, agreed.
I mean, you get to race at Indy, you get to race at Daytona. How cool is that to say that?
I won a pre-final there.
I mean, yeah, that's
I started on the front row.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody got to make the lap and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So that's not anywhere close to being a done deal yet. Yeah. But if that were to come about, then that would be our 4th major of the year.
All right. That's good. Now, okay. So let's go into what you guys are working on for 2023. I want to come back a little bit and go through some of the karters from the Ignite program that have moved to cars. We'll cap up the show with that. If you have any questions, if anybody's tuning in and you have any questions right now for Keith, feel free to drop them in the comments and we'll bring those out. One of the things, the very first thing when having you on, I knew what we were going to talk about, 2022, 2023, but is there anything going on in terms of development? I know that you guys, obviously the Ignite program is that base where you don't have to change anything. That's the beauty of it. It's a spec program. Anything coming up for potentially, obviously with the 206 program growing, CKNA continues to grow. Their Grand Nationals was massive this last October. Anything on the 206 front in terms of chassis development? Then the same thing goes. What about 100cc? You guys, Margay has always been a 100cc power player. Are we going to see potentially a new 100cc kart to go after, the 100cc KA program?
Yeah, those are all great points that you bring up, and you really hit on exactly where we're going next year. First of all, as you mentioned, Ignite doesn't change. That's the whole point. That's the beauty of the program. We've made 2 changes over the 8-year duration of the program, and they were sort of forced changes. One was on wheels because of a supply issue, and another was on tires, also because of what was ostensibly a supply issue. And that's it. Yeah. Otherwise, it's the exact same kart that we were building 8 years ago. And while some people may sort of look down on that, man, you can't look down on the racing. The racing's outstanding. The racing's
it's still younger than the IndyCar chassis.
That's a very good point. I don't want to get started on that one, but
we don't need to. It's done.
Yeah, that's something else. So Ignite's been super stable, and that's really provided a great foundation for everything we do, and so many racers. But yeah, I mean, we also like to compete elsewhere, and you mentioned the success of the CKNA program at Newcastle, and we'd like to be there. I think we've got the drivers, and I think we've got the equipment to get the job done there. So we're going to renew our focus on what's been our Brava 206 kart for the last several years, and reintroduce that with some new changes and a new name for that. So that'll be happening real soon after the first of the year.
New name meaning you're gonna retire the Brava?
I don't think so.
I was going to say that, dude. That's been 25 years or so for the Brava, right? It's got to be 20.
And it's been good.
Yeah,
and so I think we've got 2 solid brands there with Ignite and Brava. So I think you'll see some new variation on Brava, or not quite sure what it's going to be yet.
But so development on that kart ongoing kind of a thing.
It is. We've got some old tricks that we're going back to, and a few new bits on there that we're going to incorporate, that we have incorporated, and just waiting to get on the track with it. Hopefully going to be on track with it at Daytona.
Okay.
And hopefully we're going to incorporate one of our favorite drivers, which is Hunter Fox. Hunter just won the Sunshine State. I always get this wrong.
Karting Challenge.
Sunshine State Karting Challenge. It's really hard for me to say. But he won Briggs Senior, won the championship in Briggs Senior on his tried and true Brava 206.
Okay.
So we really like everything Hunter does, and he always gets the thing to the front. So he's got great feedback too. Nice young driver to work with. So we look forward to working with him a little bit more on the development there and getting that card out this spring. And then you mentioned the 100cc stuff. Yeah, I'm an old 2-cycle guy.
You are. Or talking Quincy. Come on. Right?
We built our own 2-cycle engine. A lot of people don't even know that. It was so long ago now. We're like 2 generations removed, but we built our own 2-cycle engine right here in St. Louis at Margay. We built a 100cc reed valve engine that we had a huge amount of success with in the late 70s and early 80s. And I would say, though, I would qualify that by saying that the success was mostly on the racetrack and not at the bank.
Not at the business side of it. Okay. Good to know.
It was really expensive to run that program, but we won a lot of races. So that's all that matters, I suppose. But I do like the 100cc stuff a lot. And I feel like, we're going to talk about these kids that move from karts to cars and that whole program. And I feel like the gap is a little large right now. I mean, you've got Briggs 206 racing at the base of the pyramid. And then you've got the very top of the pyramid with SCUSA and USPKS and Stars and Tom Kutcher, Joe Janowski, Mark Coates. Those guys are doing a great job with those 3 programs. But that's the very top of the pyramid, right? That's the tip of the pyramid. And there's this gap, though, in the middle from the base. We don't have regional racing like we used to have. And we don't have sort of that mid-level. You're either racing a Briggs at the local track or maybe a small regional program, or you're a professional go-karter up here with SCUSA or Stars or USPKS. So one of the things we're planning for 2023 is an Ignite 100 and adding an Ignite class. Actually, we're talking about adding 2 Ignite classes. So the Ignite 100 with the 2-stroke 100cc version. And let me just back up a little bit here. We're probably going to incorporate a new, not sure how we're going to name it just yet, but it's basically going to be a sportsman class for Ignite. The problem we have with Ignite, here's the problem. It's gotten really popular. It's great, right? But
it's a great problem to have.
you go to Gateway Kartplex, and you want to get involved in karting, and this Ignite program's made it very easy for you to get involved. But you show up at Gateway Kartplex on a regular Saturday afternoon event. There's 30 guys in the class, and 10 of them have 6 years experience running the class at that track.
Yeah.
So, it's supposed to be all about bringing new karters in. And so we bring these new karters in, and we say, hey, you're on a level playing field with everybody else, except those guys over there have 6 or 7 years experience.
You're racing against Evan Stommer.
You're racing against Evan Stommer
whoever else, right?
Whoever else, Reed Sweeney, Jaden Beckman,
Mark Schwiegen.
Schwiegen, yeah. So it's become so competitive that it's very difficult for a new karter a new Ignite racer to sort of find their way and get competitive without getting discouraged, because there's so much depth. So we're going to try to split that out. We're going to come up with some criteria that says if you've won X number of Ignite races, or if you've won a championship in Ignite, you have to run the Ignite Pro class or the Ignite Expert class or whatever it's going to be called. And we're going to try to keep Ignite Senior more as a pure entry level class. So the new people filtering into the sport don't have to go out and compete against these guys with all that experience.
That's a logical evolution of the growth of the series.
Yeah.
Right. And it speaks volumes that you guys are retaining drivers. It's not like they're coming in as a bounce step, moving on to somewhere, else. They're remaining in the program because it's such a great program.
Yeah.
Right. That's the other thing.
It's like IMSA, you have your silver, your gold, your bronze drivers, and sometimes and what's below bronze is the new people. You don't want gold racers always beating down on the new guys.
So now we can move Tony Nielsen and Jeff Dolian out of Masters.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, that's a legitimate issue, but I certainly don't want to wade into rating driver, the driver rating system.
No.
I don't want anything to do with that.
But majors, you have to do it. Right. I would think majors, and that's what Rob was getting at, is kicking those guys out at the majors. We can't do that as much as I'd like to.
I would flip that and say we need to kick those guys out at the local level.
Yes.
And they should be the highlight of, I mean, that's why you go to a major event, is to race against a Tony Nielsen or a Jeff Dolian or Evan Stammer. You want to see how you stack up against the best.
That's how you get faster.
That's exactly how you get faster. But maybe you just don't want to race them every week at the local track.
That's true.
Good point.
All right. So potential sportsman program, like an entry level or the entry level, I like that. And so what you were saying is that we're doing some development on a new 100cc Brava?
It's going to be the same. Well, Ignite, 100cc Ignite.
Okay. So we're doing the Spec Ignite program.
Yes.
Right? So let's go there first. So you guys are going to add a Spec Ignite KA program?
It's a 100cc program.
So it opens up to VLR as well.
It's going to be a Spec 100cc program.
We're not saying yet. I get
it. We're working to finalize our engine partner on that. It will be a Spec engine.
All right.
And it's going to be identical to the Briggs 206 program, where the whole package is Spec. The engine's going to have a seal on it. There's going to be a single rebuilder, single source rebuild program for it. Unlike the Rotax program in the past, which was a great concept, but where it got a little sideways was you had 30 or 40 rebuilding shops across the country. So there was no parity.
But they also make those rebuildings. Remember, those service centers became engine builders.
Exactly.
That was the problem.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
And so we want a service center where they just turn the engines around. And if it's a single service center, they don't have to worry about competing with others. So they're not an engine builder. They're not trying to find that. They're just trying to produce the same thing every time.
Is there a timeline when we'll find out this engine package?
I would say we should have that nailed down by mid-February.
Okay.
And you'll be the first.
I won't pry.
You'll be the first to know. And I feel pretty good about where we're headed with that. And I think it's going to be, again, a logical extension. We talk about the sportsman level. This is also a logical extension. We've got kids that want to move into cars, and they, in my opinion, they're better served. I mean, we can develop some great drivers with the competition we have in Briggs 206 racing, but we can develop even better drivers if we have that same level of competition with a little bit quicker 100cc program.
So just to kind of get the steps, is it the same chassis that you already have with the Ignite program going on, just with a 2-cycle engine?
That would be way too easy. Right?
I know that, because that's what I'm thinking, because we just talked about how in the 8 years it hasn't changed. So guys with the older Ignite carts could put a 2-cycle, whatever the 100cc engine that you run on it. Like, is that a possible option when, at least just to establish this program?
That would be your first thought, right? Is, well, let's just use the same chassis, and right. I don't think that's going to be the case. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain that's not. I'm just feeling like that the chassis flexed out a little bit and put that more horsepower on it. I just feel it's too soft.
Yeah.
We want to also run a chassis that, somebody. It's the same thing with Ignite. You can take that Ignite cart, and I guarantee you it'll be competitive in any 206 class. And we want to do the same thing with the 2-cycle side of it, to where you can take the 100cc package and you can go run it somewhere else, and it's going to be competitive. It's not just a sort of a one-trick wonder, or one-trick pony.
Okay.
So there may, I'm sort of trying to figure out how we're going to approach any development on that. Maybe the development is not permanently frozen on that chassis. Maybe there's a 3-year cycle on that chassis, where every 3 years, we found some stuff that makes this thing a little bit better, so we're going to incorporate that instead of just freezing it forever. But Ignite 206, that's froze. That stays the same. The cart works great. Anybody can jump in it and be fast. Easy. But we're going to tune things up a little bit on the 100cc side of it.
Okay.
All right.
Makes sense.
I like that. That's a little teaser that we can come back around in February and have another one of these shows in February. I like that.
My birthday's on the 17th, Rob, just to let you know. I could
send you another snowblower.
There could go, oh, man.
Yeah, he'll get a case of oil. That's all he gets now.
Oh, man.
We pause our face-to-face broadcast for this quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network.
Are you ready to go from carts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from carts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
Motor mounts are critical to producing 100% of the power your engine has to get you on the podium each and every time. Odenthal Racing Products provide the best motor mounts in the karting market today. Odenthal Racing Products is a family-owned and operated business with decades of karting experience, providing products with unmatched quality and value for the karting market. Our newest product is the Pro Series mount for two-cycle engines, available in 0, 5, and 8-degree angles, providing a rigid structure to help keep vibration to a medium with fins underneath to help dissipate heat off the engine. Our 4-cycle EZ set is one of the most popular mounts for the Briggs & Stratton 206 power plant. Multiple mounting holes provide the most adjustability, depending on your chassis and seat placement. To ensure a tight fit to your chassis, ORP wedge clamps get the job done, featuring a number of updates to its design for a lower profile and lighter weight. The clamps are available from 28mm to 32mm in both standard and Euro sizes. Head to OdenthalRacing.com and find a dealer near you. Odenthal Racing Products, made in the USA. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience, and we can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at www.franklinkart.com, where all our products are just a mouse click away. We're constantly adding to the growing product selection on the online store, and we ship daily to ensure products get to you quickly. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, ceramic products, driveline branded products, Briggs & Stratton engines, OTK products, and of course, the championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find a variety of items to fill your karting needs. Franklin Motorsports is also known for our wide variety of services and is home to Innovative Engine Works by FMS, our in-house engine service department. Frame straightening, kart prep, and dyno testing are all services offered regularly at Franklin Motorsports. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com. Welcome back to Face2Face on the EKN Radio Network. All right, let's wrap this thing up and let's talk about let's go full circle, right? Let's go the bringing people in the sport, lowering the barrier of entry, rental car people, whatever, come in, they get into Ignite. Eventually, drivers are going to grow and develop as talents and want to move on. The dream is always there, right? When you're in a car to potentially become a race car driver, and we've seen some of them. And I'll throw out the very first one because. I was there, Keith, you gave me the phone call when we talked about Evan Stammer and Spike Kohlbecker, when you discussed the kind of the growth of, or the development of Ignite Motorsports with Scott Blinn, that whole program. But things have kind of developed. Those drivers did some time in what was the Road to Indy and USF 2000 now, the USF Pro Championships. Let's start with that and the pride I think you saw when you were at the racetrack with those guys, seeing what they did coming out of the Ignite program. And, for Spike had a lot more experience than Evan did, of course, in cars, a ton more experience. I was so pleased with the way Evan developed over that 1 year in USF 2000, which is such a ridiculously tough program, as you now know, where that KA program would have probably been a better thing for him coming out of Ignite into USF. Watching him grow, watching Spike in there, it was just amazing to watch Evan get quicker and quicker throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it all right on the head, as usual. I mean, we took two drivers right out of Ignite, although Spike, again, had considerable experience, actually most of it overseas. Everywhere from New Zealand to the UK, Canada. I mean, the kid was 18 years old and had spent 3 years racing in international series around the world. So he brought a lot of experience. Evan was completely the opposite end of the spectrum. We literally took Evan we really believe in Evan, believed in him at the time, still do. I think he's a great guy and has a lot of talent. And we took him right out of Ignite 206 racing and went, boom, here you go. Figure this out. And it was we threw him into the deep end where like all the sharks were. And he responded well and developed nicely over the course of the year, as you said. And it would have been nice to see what he could have done in a second year.
Yeah.
But as you know, so many of these things are funding dependent, and the funding wasn't there for a complete second year in USF 2000. So where he did get a ton of seat time was he ran sports cars with Scott Blend and his Ruckus Racing operation. And we already talked about Evan racing at Daytona in a 911 Cup car, which is insane, right? So it's worked out well for Evan. Spike is going to be back next year in the Toyota GR86 Cup Series, which I think is going to be a terrific series. Evan's going to do more sports car racing with Scott. We've got Reed Sweeney, another great kid from Gateway Kartplex here in St. Louis, who just won the Mazda Spec MX-5 Cup Challenge Scholarship Shootout, whatever. And Reed is going to do really well in whatever he gets into.
I think that's really big for that program, for your Ignite program, to see Reed, of course, developing his skills there. And then that shootout, you looked at the depth of talent in that shootout, where those drivers came from, SCUSA, USPKS, wherever, Route 66, everywhere those guys came from in that program. For him to be able to emerge as one of the winners of that program, I think speaks volumes for him too. Yeah. I mean, I'm super excited to see what Reed's going to do this year. I think we've all got big hopes for him. Alexander Cyril, another kid that came through the Ignite program. He's done real well in Mazda. Jaden Beckman is a young woman that races with us at Gateway Kartplex as well. And we have a lot of enthusiasm for her and some big plans for her in 2023. I think she's going to make the transition. She just turned 16, and she's going to start getting some seat time in some sports cars, and she's going to surprise a lot of people. I have a tremendous amount of faith in her ability and her desire and determination. She can get the job done, and I'm really excited to see what she does. And so that's the kids, right? We've talked about all these kids that are moving up, but we have to talk about this old guy that also came through the program, and that's Scott Blend. And you mentioned his name before. Yeah.
This is a crazy deal. These deals never happen. As I told him, like, this doesn't happen. I mean, he's got 2 full seasons of karting under his belt, like 2.25 seasons, let's call it. And he's capable of winning any race he gets into in a kart. He's always in the mix. He's really fast. I've met a lot of people in this deal, and I don't know that I've ever met anybody that works as hard at it as he does. I mean, it's like sort of right out of the Scott Pruitt mold as to how hard he works at going fast. And he works at it. He wants to win, but he doesn't want it gifted to him. He's willing to put in the time. He works on it and he just works really hard at it, and it's impressive to see. And then he's fast. And it's super annoying because he's really fast. He's a year or two older than me. And it's like, man, how does that guy do that?
Yeah.
And so he has gone from running Ignite at Gateway to, again, running all these Porsche events and BMW WRL events. And I mean, he is no slouch. The guy is super fast. So I think, again, Ignite served him well. I think it serves these kids well. I think we're going to add the missing piece with the 100cc program and another missing piece with the sportsman class or on the flip side of it, the pro class, however that works out. I'm just super excited about everything we've got rolling headed into 2023.
It's interesting, Keith, because obviously with COVID in 2020, we were shut down for a bit. Then everybody got cooped up, and then everybody exploded out of the gate, wanting to go racing again. So it's like we weren't able to have any kind of development like what you're doing right now. We've almost been playing catch up. It was like coming out of the gate strong, and then finishing out through 2022. Everybody racing, like you said, industry-wise, business-wise, you're dealing with supply chain issues. You're trying to do whatever you can to make sure you can get product in the hands of the racers, still putting events on. And then now here we are to 2023. It just seems like you were able to take a deep breath and then get back at it again, right? That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, you're right. It was exhausting. I mean, it was just like, and so between all of the karting events I did this past year and all the sports car stuff and USF program, I went to a lot of races this year. I've got a stack of hotel keys. like that thick, it's crazy. But I was very fortunate. I'm not complaining about it because I count myself very fortunate to be able to go do those things. And I get to work with some really amazing people and get to do some super cool things. So I think I'm unbelievably lucky. But yeah, I would like to just have a moment, right? To take a breath and go, okay, let's catch our breath here and then go again. And
so you get a month after Daytona at least, or what?
No, that's what he's going to do while he's going around Daytona, right? Catch your breath.
Yeah, everybody snoozes because
he is laying down. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Can't be that hard.
Yeah, looking forward to getting back down there and run the enduro kart again. Got to give a shout out to RRR Racing and Doug Canham specifically up in Springfield, Illinois. They were so embarrassed with my 25-year-old road race kart that we've had a lot of success with at Daytona. And I'm like, everybody's telling me, you got to build a new kart. You got to build a new kart. I'm like, this thing's pretty fast. The kart's not the problem. It's the driver. And so they came down and confiscated my kart, took it up to Springfield, rebodied it, rebuilt the whole thing from front to back. And so it's like a brand new kart now. I'm good for another 25 years.
Is it the same frame though?
Chassis. Why would I build a new chassis?
This is lay down enduro racing. It makes me, I love it.
Same chassis.
It's no different that Ignite drivers, 20 years from now will still be racing the same Ignite kart.
That's right. Yeah. So it's sort of
here's the new rumor. The Ignite laydown kart for 2024.
That's not a rumor. That's something I'd really like to do.
Ignite laydown Yamaha.
That's something I'd really like to do. Honestly, I think it's something road race needs. It's so hard to get into road racing. It's so hard to get into road racing. If you want to build a laydown kart, you have to be a professional fabricator or no one.
You 100% do. Yeah. You
can't go buy a turnkey laydown kart anywhere. So if you see it and go, man, that looks really cool, that's something I want to do. Well, then what do? You can't go buy one. So we would really like to take the Ignite concept and apply it to road race and have, if we had a spec package where all the body panels were the same, I would love to do that. I would just need the commitment from the sanctioning bodies involved to say, hey, we'll support this. And more importantly, we need the support of the road racing community to collectively go, man, that's a good idea. And as racers, we support the concept because when people come to them, they have to be the ones that sell this. They have to go, instead of going, you want to go do this? Let me sell you a B stock car where you're going to go 160 miles an hour. And, I know you've never done it before, but it'll be fine. That's not where people need to start. They need to start in this easy package over here that they can go out and figure things out in. And then you can always move up to the crazy stuff, but make it easy for them to get out on the track and go race at all these cool places.
Well, quick question, because you had Evan do the lay down a few times.
Yeah.
Was he the only one that has shown interest in doing it? Because you have a pretty good pool of drivers at Gateway and throughout the Ignite program. Is he really the only one that's kind of stood up and said, I'll do it?
Well, honestly, most of the drivers that we work with at Gateway and other tracks, they don't even know road race exists.
Right.
I mean, to be honest, they don't have a clue that road racing exists. And so I think the RRR crew up in Springfield, the Folks brothers, I think they took one look at me and said, man, this guy's getting old. We need to find somebody else.
I got somebody for you.
That can do the job. And so
Fox is in.
And Hunter would be quick in that. I mean, I've always said that a great sprint driver can jump into a road race kart and be fast the first time out. And it doesn't work the other way. You can't take a great road race driver and throw them into a sprint kart and have them be quick. That's the transition when you go that way just isn't as easy. But take a great sprint, put them in a road race kart, and they'll be fast. And Evan really surprised.
The early 2000s, that was a big thing, right? Especially the 125 shifter class, and even the sprint setup class when we had the tag class. Guys would run sprint. The sprint guys would go out to a Mid Ohio all the time. I ran Mid Ohio in a shifter, one of the greatest times I've ever had. So I do love the idea. Obviously, we saw that there was interest in lay down Yamaha racing. How many did they have? 50 something, David, at Daytona when they did the 50 kart challenge?
They had over 50. I think they have over 30 entries this year.
So I think
the Yamaha pipe. It's ironic. The Yamaha pipe and the laydown deal is coming back. I mean, there's a lot of interest in it, and now there's a problem getting engines. You can't buy a new Yamaha engine, so that's going to become a thing. And so I love road racing. I mean, that's where I really had some of the best times of my life and met some of the best people.
I do know a lot of people, or not a lot, but a few individuals are looking at the 100cc packages like the KAs and the VLRs and putting them on laydowns right now. So they're already looking ahead to that. So that could be a possibility for the Ignite, an extension of the Spec 100 or the Ignite 100, the Ignite 100 laydown.
Yeah. I'd love to do it. Absolutely would love to. I'd love to do it with the 206 even. So, So we'll leave you with that.
I was having
something to chew on.
I was having some fun there. So, all right. All right. Keith, thank you so much, bud, for joining us. We know you obviously got a couple days at home with Nicole. Head down to Daytona for your 41st run down there. Yeah. Best of luck with all the Margay drivers, of course. Again, the Ignite program is such a fantastic one. And, of course, Daytona, a great place for you guys to launch for the new season.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for all you do for the sport. Thanks for everything you've done for us. David, we know you're the guy doing all the work. Rob's just the pretty face out front, but we know where all the work really happens.
100%.
So
well, technically it was 20th because that's the only position he could get up to at Supernats.
Hey, and I have to give you full credit for that. That is not something, Rob's a couple years behind me, but not by much.
Nope.
And I really was impressed with your approach to that event. You weren't screwing around. You really worked hard and went out there and did all the things that you were supposed to do. And I thought you ran very well in an unbelievably deep and tough field. So my hat's off to you.
I appreciate it.
And I wish I had that sort of motivation still to go do that.
It felt good, I'll tell you that. Losing the 20 pounds felt good. I got 20 more to go because I got to beat David Cole now. That's the next thing. I'm going to run Legends and Masters at maybe I have to run a 206 Briggs Masters to go against David at CKNA. Look out, Cole. You're getting your ass handed to you. All right, Keith. Thanks, bud. Listen, happy holidays to you and yours.
Thank you. Thank you both.
We'll let Keith bail away here. And again, lots of work to be done, of course, down at Daytona, David. It's such a big event. Just talking about the fact that it started in 74 as just that big road race event. It is Daytona. And I know that we haven't been down there in a bunch of years, but it's still that one event at one of the biggest venues in American motorsports, sprint, road race, and dirt, very similar to the old North American Karting Championships in Charlotte back in the day. It's still a massive event. Like you said, with potentially over 3,000 entries in total for Kart Week.
Yeah, when you look at numbers wise, it's one of the biggest karting events in the world. And again, like you said, bringing all three disciplines together at one facility. So again, you could be racing on the sprint. You can go watch road race. You can go watch the dirt, or the dirt guys can go watch the road race and sprint. So it's a great atmosphere. And it's Florida, so majority of the time it's warm down there. Again, there could be that 1 year where it's 30 degrees and you're wearing shorts because you forgot pants. But
that's it.
It's a phenomenal race, yeah. And hopefully, like we've joked about, I'll be down there for sure in 2024. Maybe next year we'll see what happens with that, because again, being in the winter weather at Christmas time is not always fun. So we'll see about that, but. You got to do it once too. It's a bucket list event. Whether you do it,
I may need to do it next year. We'll see.
Again, yeah. I'd like to do the dirt and the sprint just to check those off the boxes because I've already done road race. So, but I'd also like to see somebody try and do all three at one time. That's all. Like he said, to try and do the Ignite on both tracks is going to be pretty difficult. I mean, if you got two, you can kind of separate them and do the road race and do the sprint, but also try and get over there and do the dirt somehow with somebody. And Margay actually used to manufacture dirt carts, so I'm sure they got a couple laying around. So that would be cool. And speaking of laying down, another driver who's going to be racing.
I saw that, yeah.
So Race Liberance, that'll be interesting to see him do laydown. I know it's a pretty cool. Mid Ohio is great. That's again Daytona, Mid Ohio. Those are kind of the crown jewels of road racing. If we could get Road America back, that'd be the third one.
That's it. All right, folks. That was a fantastic edition of Face to Face, having Keith Freber from Margay Racing. Learned a ton, as we said. Talked about the 2022 program. Little look forward to 2023, and of course, talking about Daytona. Some great stuff at the end there, as we're going to potentially have, as we said, a new 206 open competition chassis or evolved Brava. Maybe a sportsman category as well in the Ignite program to kind of move the top guys out into what could be a pro class in the senior classes. I think that's a great idea. And then I thought I was having fun, but man, I would love to see a Ignite laydown 100cc category as well in road racing. That I think would be a really cool thing to bring new people into road racing.
And the Ignite 100 as well, too, the sprint. Yeah,
that's right. And exactly that. The Ignite 100 sprint chassis with soon to be named engine. Stay tuned to eCard News. Yeah. We'll fill you in. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. This will be our last live show before you guys head to Christmas. So on behalf of David and Nate Cole and myself, happy holidays, everyone. Have a fantastic Christmas season. We'll, of course, be working between Christmas and New Year's. Lots going on with Kart Week. CKNA Winter Nationals as well, David, coming just around the corner. So lots of racing before we start off 2023. But again, that's our final show. Thank you so much for being part of the eKarting News family, EKN Nation, throughout the 2022 season. We do this for you guys. If it wasn't for those advertisers that we have on the website, the partners that make this all happen for us, we wouldn't have the lights on here at ekartingnews.com. So I appreciate that. And again, for me personally, big thank you to both David and Nate for being the guys really behind it all. As Keith said, I may be the forefront here. A lot of stuff I do, but it's still guys in the back that make it all happen. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. We do appreciate it. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.